Hello, and welcome back to Kingdom Keys Teaching. I am your host, Dr. Yashmira Abby, and I am so happy to be here with everyone today. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in, and make sure that you please subscribe. It really helps the channel out because this is a brand new channel. Today we are going to go over the veil of the tabernacle. The veil of the tabernacle. The veil of the tabernacle was, of course, inside of the tabernacle, and it separated the holy place from the most holy place. And you can call it somewhat of a curtain, if you will. It's somewhat of a curtain. So it separated the most holy area of the tabernacle from the holiest of the holiest inside of the tabernacle. Okay, so in Exodus 26 verses 31 and 33, we have the instructions that the Most High said that how you should make this veil in the tabernacle. So in Exodus 26 31 to 33, he says, "You shall make a veil woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. It shall be woven with an artistic design of cherubim." Cherubim are angels, so that means the veil was to have these specific colors, blue, purple, red, and to have an artistic design of an angel, of a cherubim. "You shall hang it upon the 4 pillars of Arcata wood overlaid with gold." Arcata wood is a wood that is, you can't destroy it. So this type of wood was extremely durable. This type of wood was, it would withstand basically anything. And it goes on to say overlaid with gold. All right. "Their hooks shall be gold upon 4 sockets of silver." And going down to verses 35 and 36, "And he made a veil, blue, purple, scarlet thread, fine woven linen. It was woven with the artistic design of cherubim. He made 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold." So Moses did everything that he was instructed to do. Then going down to Exodus 40, "And he brought the ark of the tabernacle, hung the veil of the covering, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony, as the Lord had commanded Moses." So with the partition, that means a separation. Okay? So if we're going from the holiest of the holiest to the holy part of the tabernacle, there was a separation. And also, when the priest, only the priest was actually admitted, or he was the only one that could go inside of the holiest of the holiest. And that was only one time out of the year, which was on the Day of Atonement. And this behind the veil was so holy that the priest would actually have to put little bells with a rope around his ankle, and he would have the bells around his ankle with a rope, because only he was allowed in. And say, for instance, if he were to go in there and drop dead, no one could be able to go in there and get him out. He would have to be pulled out with a rope. Okay, so that's how serious this was. No one, even on account of a death, was allowed to actually go into the holiest of holy places in the tabernacle. They would have to pull. If they didn't have those bells on the ankles, how would you know if the priest didn't go in there and just drop dead? So he would have the bells on the ankles. So if anyone were to just say, "Hey, these bells stop," they didn't make any more noise, there must be something wrong, let's pull them out, because no one was allowed to go in the holiest of holiest places in the tabernacle. Now, when you're looking at the actual tabernacle, the veil, not only was it purple, red, and it had the cherubim on there, the veil was about 4 inches thick itself. So it was really thick. And also, when they would move the whole entire tabernacle, it took about 300 Israelites to move the veil. So it was pretty serious. This was heavy. This was huge. This was just beautiful in its how it was made, and it served a real purpose to separate the holiest of holies in the tabernacle from the most holiest place. Now, so when we jump down to, let's see, Hebrews 6 makes a reference to the veil of the tabernacle. So in Hebrews 6:19, we have, this hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which enters the presence behind the veil, where the forerunner has entered us, even Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus of Nazareth, having become high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. So, as stated, only the high priest was able to go behind that veil once a year on the Day of Atonement. Now, when we get to the era of where we have the Messiah, when he walked through this earth, he actually, with his crucifixion, the veil was actually torn. If you go to, let's see, Hebrews 10:19, therefore, brethren, having boldness to enter the holiest by the blood of Yahushua, by a new and living way, which he consecrated for us through the veil, that is, his flesh. So symbolically, we know that the tabernacle is full of symbolism for the upcoming Messiah that was not yet in the flesh. So we have, as far as the veil, we're thinking about the Messiah. It symbolizes the Messiah's flesh. So when the Messiah was crucified, the veil torn. The veil torn, and it torn from top to bottom. And that signifies that the tear came from the heavens. It came from a spiritual realm. Okay, so when we're thinking about the veil, you have to remember that it is symbolic. When we're thinking about the tabernacle, it's symbolic for the flesh, and the veil was also called the life. When you research the ancient Greek, the veil, and back then, was also called the life. And as you can see, that coincides with Hebrews, that is called his flesh. The veil had no opening, so when it was torn from top to bottom, indicating that it came from the heavens. We have also in Hebrews 6, where it mentions Yahushua, our Messiah, or who the world calls Jesus of Nazareth. He came as a forerunner and a high priest forever. Remember, only the high priest was able to go into the Holy of Holies. So now with Yahushua's sacrifice, with the Messiah's sacrifice, he tore open the veil. And what that did was it allowed for all of us believers to enter the Holy of Holies. It was not just for the high priest. So I hope that is helpful when you're thinking about this part of the tabernacle. The veil was torn from top to bottom, symbolizing his flesh. It was torn at crucifixion. Okay? And now with Yahushua being the sacrifice, we now are able to enter the holiest of the holiest area of the tabernacle, which of course we don't set up actual tabernacles now. We are able to enter into his presence without building, of course, a tabernacle and doing all of the symbolic things that they did before. And you also have to think, when the high priest would go in and make atonement for sins, he was making atonement by the shedding of blood, the shedding or sacrificing. What was it at that time? Some type of animal. because you have that before you enter the actual behind the veil. He would have to make atonement, making a sacrifice each year. Yahusha came in, and he was the ultimate, or he is the ultimate sacrifice. We don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to go in and make atonement or have the high priest. It is already done. This is what is meant by saying it is finished, meaning all of those symbolic things that were had to do in the ancient or the times of the tabernacle in the Old Testament. Not saying that that the laws are done away with. I'm not saying that. But as far as animal sacrificing and setting up tabernacles, we do not have to do that anymore, because Yahushua Messiah was the ultimate sacrifice. The veil was torn when he was crucified. Okay? So I hope that was helpful, and sorry about the dog. But make sure that this was just a quick study that I definitely had to do. I mean, I had dreams about the veil and explaining the veil, and I just hope that it was helpful to someone. If you have any comments, please make sure you subscribe and comment below if you want to add anything. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.